Hey everyone, it's Vivi and welcome to some Sly Cooper. Let's talk about the fictional time travel of Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, the game that introduces us to time travel. Obviously, Sly Cooper is a work of fiction, Vivi. Yes, you are correct about that. I thought of using the word fictional for this, albeit obvious, because I feel like it's the perfect term that summarizes how time travel works in Sly Cooper. I guess you could say time travel in this game is all over the place. Like, there's a lot of different aspects of time travel mixed in together. The way the events took place in Sly 4, you probably wondered. Yeah, the Paradox went to the past to steal the Cooper canes. It did pay off. Well, it started to pay off for the Paradox, at least from what we saw in this scene in Sly 4. Paradox succeeded in building a bigger image of himself in the present, at least to the extent we see. However, you have to realize, the gang interacted with Sly's ancestors. That alone you wonder, how in the heck did that not cause any other alterations to the present timeline? Let alone Sly's name not appearing in the book. Since he's met a couple of his ancestors, how come his name didn't just suddenly pop up in the book? The Paradox, look, he never stole the book, or even attempted in physically destroying it. All those visits in the past, if anything, I take it a Cooper would have mentioned Sly. At least one of the ancestors we get to meet in Sly 4. You see, this right here is an example of time, which cannot be affected. Let's call it the Unchangeable Future. Even if one were to destroy the book physically, travel to the past and just burn it for example, another one would be made. The famous line from Sly 1 when Sly is facing Clockwork. Let me play it.
Because I wanted to show the world that without your precious book, the Cooper line was nothing.
Ah, well, there's where you're wrong. The Thievius Raccoonus doesn't create great thieves. It takes great thieves to create the Thievius Raccoonus.
It takes a Cooper to make the Thievius Raccoonus. Why? Because a Cooper would still be alive, regardless of how many times you try and destroy the book. Their knowledge would still be alive. Sure, they probably forgot about the pages prior to it if, let's say, one were to destroy the book. However, them alone, their experience alone, is enough for them to generate another Thievius Raccoonus. That one Cooper alone would be capable of restoring the book just with the mere personal experience they've gone through, thus not making the entirety of the book's content disappear. One explanation as to why Sly's name never appeared after traveling to the past in Sly 4, well, think of how many ancestors Sly visited in the first place. 5. Omit Bob Cooper as he didn't create the book. The book started with Slight Uncommon 1. Plus, the thing with Bob, he didn't really have the intellect or capability of writing a book, let alone the technology, the material needed to produce a book in 10,000 BC. Now you can come up with headcanon reasons, saying his ancestors, the one he visited in Sly 4, they just simply forgot about Sly. His name, especially. But in reality, Sly's lineage is so vast that the percentage of Sly's name being remembered in the past would have gotten topped by the massive history of his family alone. Let's not forget how the ancestors, during that mission on the Paradox's blimp, them retrieving their canes, the fact that they all disappear one by one after retrieving their canes, that's an example of time fixing itself, aka reorder the timeline, in order not to change the future. Because let's face it, away from your time period might have caused repercussions. We'd like to imagine, because of those potential repercussions, time wanted to fix itself, thus explaining why the ancestors disappeared like that, of course with the help of Bentley. However, there are other questions when it comes to time travel and Thieves in Time. I would like to call this part of time travel the changeable future, close to the grandfather paradox, a term you've probably heard in the past. Stuff you do in the past affecting the future. There is something Matt Kramer from Sanzaru said in one of the second funniest podcasts. Regarding Sly's father, I'm not going to put too much emphasis on that, for this video especially, I won't dive into it now. I'll leave it for another video, okay? But to sum up what he said, Sly 4, there's a line in episode 6. The way I'm counting the episodes, if you count the prologue and the epilogue, Salim's time period, his episode would be number 6. There's a part where Bentley mentions Sinbad's legendary goblet, recovered by Henriette Cooper. If they take it, it will cause anomalies. Let me play the scene so you understand.
Why, that priceless treasure is Sinbad's legendary goblet. History tells us it was recovered by your ancestor, Henrietta One-Eye Cooper, the famous female pirate, but not until the year 1616. Taking it now could cause any number of anomalies to the time continuum and the Cooper timeline. You might even prevent yourself from becoming a thief.
Ooh, point taken.
So Bentley mentions that by just stealing Sinbad's treasure, Sly becoming a thief would just go completely extinct. So yes, it appears that Sanzaru had the idea of the grandfather paradox as well. Another one which is closely related to the grandfather paradox. The book's content being affected for some reason. No, it's not someone going to the past and destroying the book. No, the canes being stolen completely made the book lose its content. At least it started to. See, this one is close to the grandfather theory in a way. If destroying the book entirely in the past wouldn't erase the book, then how come stealing the canes made the writings disappear? Thus it brings us to this. Just what exactly is the Cooper clan's heirloom? The Thievius Raccoonus or the canes? Here's a scene from Sly 3.
No, my naive boy, you're trespassing. I've got the deed to this island. This fortress is mine. Everything here is mine, which now includes the key to the vault and the wrecking.
Sorry, pal. Family heirloom. Buy a knockoff at the gift shop.
Sly outright calls it an heirloom. The canes representing, basically, their legacy. So in a way, we understand why the canes themselves would affect the timeline. Without the canes in the picture, no Cooper would have any idea of it in the book. Although it wouldn't destroy the book entirely, it would cause butterfly effects, their status as thieves. This is where you question Sly 4's time travel, if of course, only the canes are capable of affecting the book, or the timeline, in other words. So if Bob's cane is no more, no one would be able to continue its legacy. That's where it all started. Plus, it's not like the Cooper gang traveled to the past chronologically. It's not like they traveled to Bob's time, 10,000 BC, first, in order to preserve the cane. That's not what happened. Instead, we have the gang traveling to times in mixed order. Technically, if Bob's cane got stolen, then traveling to ancient Arabia should have removed Salim's cane from the equation. There's another concept of time travel mixed in this debacle. Casual loop. Well, at least we'd like to imagine that. Since I love to theorize or overthink, according to what people say sometimes, hey, it's fun to theorize. Look at how all of his ancestors can ninja spire jump, when Ryuichi Cooper is the only one that invented it in the 1600s. Apart from the realistic approach to this, gameplay, you know, Sanzaru wanted you to play as the ancestors and stuff like that. Actually, the fact that all of his ancestors had Sly's basic moves is one of the low points of Sly 4, from what I've been reading when people talk about Sly 4. But that's besides the point. Theory-wise, how can we explain all of Sly's ancestors being able to ninja spire jump? Sly Cooper. His ancestors saw Sly. Can we say that behind the scenes, Sly taught them how to do it? Ultimately? I mean, the move being transcribed by Ryuichi later on in the timeline. Classic VVA trying to explain everything. Another way casual loop could fit into Sly 4, Sly and the gang traveling to the past, is actually what's meant to happen in the first place. Everything that's gone on with the Cooper history, it's because of the gang's involvement in the past. The Thievius Raccoonus and Sly's legacy turning out the way it is, it's thanks to the gang. Time traveling in Thieves in Time. Or, there's a fancy word for it, destiny. Anywho, with all of these different time travel aspects mentioned in the video, you see why I don't use time travel to essentially give my opinion on Sly 4? Because time travel, by nature, is a complex beast. Although Sly 4's time travel brings up many questions, in the end it's fiction, and the same applies for any medium, video games, movies, you just have all of these questions in your head. As long as they make it interesting, I think that's what makes it appealing. Look, probably an unpopular opinion, but time travel in Sly 4 is not something I'd use against the game. Sanzaru took time travel and just had fun with it, without overthinking it to a degree where they'd bury themselves deeper into a hole. So with that being said, guys, this is it for the video. So explain in the comment section below, what do you think of the time travel aspect of Sly Cooper Thieves in Time? Leave your thoughts, questions, or your own theories in the comment section below. And as always, I've been Vivi, and thank you so much for watching.